The massive silver ship drifted slowly through the darkness of space toward the glowing planet ahead. Inside the command bridge, Admiral Jack Morrison stood looking out at the strange world they were approaching. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his mind was racing with questions. First contact with alien civilizations, he muttered to himself. Never thought I'd live to see this day. Behind him, Chief Diplomat Lisa Harper was reading through files on her tablet. She had spent months preparing for this moment, learning what little Earth knew about the creatures that had sent them the mysterious invitation. The message had been simple but urgent. The Galactic Council needed to meet with Earth's representatives immediately. "Admiral, we're getting close to their space station," called out Captain Ryan Bell from his position at the controls. "It's bigger than anything we've ever seen." Morrison nodded and walked over to look at the screens. The alien space station was enormous, easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest orbital platforms. Lights flickered across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Strange ships of different shapes and sizes moved around it like insects around a hive. "How many different species do you think are out there?" asked Colonel Dan Rodriguez, the mission's military advisor. He was younger than Morrison but had seen enough combat to know when something felt dangerous. "According to their message, 12 major civilizations," Harper replied without looking up from her tablet. "Though they mentioned there are hundreds of smaller groups too." Dr. Amy Foster, their science expert, pressed her face against the viewing window. Her eyes were wide with excitement. "Look at those ship designs. Each one is completely different. They must have evolved on totally different worlds with different physics." Jake Sullivan, their intelligence officer, was less impressed. He was, busy taking pictures and making notes about everything he could see. His job was to figure out if these aliens were friends or enemies. So far, he wasn't sure. The communication system crackled to life. A strange voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded like it was coming through water. "Earth vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 17. Please follow the guidance lights." "They learned our language pretty fast," Morrison observed. "Makes you wonder what else they know about us." Their ship moved slowly toward the docking bay. As they got closer, they could see alien beings moving around on the station's surface. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Foster had to resist the urge to stare. "Remember," Harper said to the group, "we're representing all of humanity here. Whatever we say and do will determine Earth's relationship with the rest of the galaxy." "No pressure at all," Rodriguez muttered. The docking process took an hour. The aliens' technology was clearly advanced, but they seemed to be taking extra care with the human ship. Warning lights flashed constantly, and several different types of alien vessels kept their distance. When they finally entered the station, Morrison was surprised by how normal the air felt. The gravity was close to Earth normal too. Someone had done their homework about human needs. Their escort was waiting for them. The creature looked like a 7-foot-tall crystal that somehow managed to walk on 2 legs. When it spoke, its voice came from somewhere inside its body. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Guide Zenth. The Council is very eager to meet with you." As they walked through the station's corridors, Morrison noticed that other aliens moved out of their way quickly. Some even pressed themselves against walls. As the humans passed, it seemed like fear, but Morrison couldn't understand why. "Is there something wrong?" Harper asked their guide. "The others seem nervous around us." Guide Zenth's crystal body flickered with different colors. "The Council will explain everything. Please, this way." The corridors were huge, clearly built for beings much larger than humans. The walls showed moving pictures of different worlds and creatures. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They passed through several security checkpoints. Each one had different types of guards, representing different alien species. Morrison noticed that all of them carried weapons and all of them watched the humans very carefully. "How long has this council existed?" Foster asked. "Many thousands of your years," Guide Zenth replied. "We have maintained peace between the civilizations for longer than your species has existed." That statement hit Morrison hard. These beings had been working together since before humans had discovered fire, and now they were inviting Earth to join them. It seemed too good to be true. The final set of doors opened into a chamber so large that Morrison couldn't see the ceiling. Seats arranged in a circle held representatives from 12 different species. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. At the center of the circle was a raised platform with chairs clearly designed for human bodies. A creature that looked like a walking tree with too many arms gestured for them to sit. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through leaves. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Chairman Vexstar of the Alterian Collective. We have called you here because we need your help." Morrison felt Sullivan tense beside him. The intelligence officer's training was telling him that something was very wrong with this situation. "We're honored by your invitation," Harper said diplomatically. "Earth is eager to learn about the galactic community." "Yes," Vexstar said, and Morrison could swear he heard fear in the alien's voice. "We must discuss this carefully. You see, we are at war." The chamber fell silent. Morrison looked around at the alien faces and saw the same expression on all of them. It was an expression he recognized from his years as a soldier. These creatures were terrified, but they weren't afraid of their enemies. They were afraid of asking Earth for help. Chairman Vexstar's branches trembled as he activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images of burning worlds and massive alien ships filled the air above the human delegation. 3 cycles ago, the Krillian Empire began their conquest of the Outer Rim, Vexstar explained. His voice carried the weight of countless deaths. "They are unlike anything we have faced before. Their ships adapt to our weapons. Their soldiers cannot be reasoned with." Admiral Morrison studied the images carefully. The Krillian ships looked like they were grown rather than built, with smooth organic curves and what appeared to be living tissue covering metal frameworks. Their weapons left strange energy signatures that his military mind immediately began analyzing. "How many worlds have they taken?" Morrison asked. 17 so far," replied a creature that looked like a giant blue octopus. "I am Counselor Zephyra, of the Peaceful Hegemony. Each world they conquer makes them stronger. They absorb our technology and use it against us." Dr. Foster leaned forward with interest. "They're adaptive? That's fascinating from a biological standpoint." The assembled aliens looked at her with what Morrison was beginning to recognize as fear. It seemed like everything the humans said made the situation worse somehow. "Yes," Vexstar continued. "Which brings us to why we have called you here." The holographic display changed, showing images that Morrison recognized immediately. Earth, human cities, human armies. "We have been watching your species for some time," Vexstar said quietly. "What we have seen troubles us greatly." Commander Steve Parker, Earth's military attaché, sat up straighter. "Troubles you? We haven't done anything hostile toward any galactic civilization." "That is precisely the problem," said another alien, this one resembling a large insect with too many eyes. "You have been hostile toward each other." The display showed scenes from human history: ancient battles, medieval warfare, the world wars, modern conflicts. But the way they were presented made them look like something else entirely. The aliens weren't showing human conflict as messy and tragic. They were showing it as evidence of something terrifying. "In your last major global conflict, you mobilized over 100 million soldiers," Vexstar said, his voice growing quieter with each word. "You created weapons that could destroy entire cities. You fought for 6 years without stopping." Morrison frowned. "That was World War II. We were fighting against fascism and genocide. We were the good guys." "Good guys?" Zephyra's tentacles writhed in agitation. "You dropped nuclear weapons on populated cities. You killed millions of your own species." Lisa Harper stood up, her diplomatic training taking over. "You have to understand the context. We were fighting to save civilization itself. Sometimes, difficult choices have to be made." The entire chamber fell silent. Morrison could hear his own heartbeat in the quiet. "Difficult choices," repeated Vexstar slowly. "Yes, we have studied your concept of total war. The idea that an entire civilization can be mobilized for conflict. This is not normal, humans of Earth." Colonel Rodriguez leaned back in his chair. "What do you mean, not normal?" Another alien spoke up, this one looking like a walking crystal similar to their guide. Most species fight with small professional armies. Wars last a few days or weeks. The idea of fighting for years, of involving civilian populations, of creating new weapons during the conflict, this is unheard of. Jake Sullivan finally spoke up. So you're saying most galactic civilizations don't really know how to fight? The question hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. We know how to fight, Zephyra said defensively. We have warriors and fleets and weapons. But you don't know how to win, Morrison said, understanding dawning in his voice. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Foster broke the quiet with a question that made everything worse. How do your species typically resolve conflicts? Negotiation, Vextar replied. Trade agreements, sometimes limited combat between small groups of warriors. And when negotiation fails, Harper asked, We usually reach a compromise. Morrison and his team exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand why these advanced civilizations were losing to the Krillians. Captain Bell cleared his throat. What happens when the other side doesn't want to compromise? No one answered. Rodriguez pulled up his own tablet and began showing images. This is from our encounter with Pirate Fleet Designation Razor 3 months ago. They attacked one of our deep space stations. The holographic display showed the aftermath of the battle. What had been a fleet of 12 pirate ships was now debris floating in space. The human vessels were barely damaged. How long did this battle last? Asked the crystal being. 47 minutes, Bell replied matter-of-factly. And the pirates? Complete destruction. No survivors. They fired first and refused surrender. The alien representatives began making sounds that the translation devices couldn't handle. Morrison realized they were expressions of terror. You destroyed 12 ships in less than an hour? Zephyra's voice was barely a whisper. They were pirates, Sullivan said with a shrug. What did you expect us to do? Ask them politely to stop? Vexatar's branches were shaking so badly that leaves were falling to the floor. We expected you to disable their ships and negotiate their surrender. They were shooting at us, Morrison said slowly. In human military doctrine, that means they've chosen combat over surrender. Human military doctrine, repeated another, alien, as if the words themselves were dangerous. Harper tried to defuse the situation. We're a peaceful species. We only fight when we have no other choice. Peaceful? Vextar pulled up more images. Your planet has over 200 separate military organizations. You have weapons pointed at your own cities. You train millions of soldiers even during peacetime. Morrison was beginning to understand the problem. You think we're a warrior species. We know you are, Zephyra said. The question is whether we dare ask for your help. The chamber erupted in alien voices, all speaking at once in languages the humans couldn't understand. Through it all, Morrison sat quietly, finally grasping the true nature of their situation. The galaxy was full of civilizations that had forgotten how to fight a real war, and now they needed the one species that had never stopped learning. The council chamber fell into chaos as alien voices rose in heated debate. Chairman Vextar's branches swayed frantically as he tried to restore order. The humans sat in the center of it all, watching species that had coexisted peacefully for thousands of years argue about whether to trust them. Admiral Morrison leaned toward Lisa Harper. I think we broke their government, he whispered. Ambassador Kate Johnson, who had remained quiet during the previous discussion, finally stood up. The chamber gradually fell silent as the aliens noticed her movement. With respect, Chairman Vextar, I think there's been a misunderstanding, she said in her calm diplomatic voice. We're not the monsters you think we are. A new alien spoke up from across the chamber. This one looked like a walking suit of armor made from bone. You are Apex, predators with starships. Your own records prove this. We're survivors, Johnson replied firmly. There's a difference. Counselor Zephyra's tentacles writhed nervously. Your species has been at war for its entire recorded history. Even now you have conflicts on your homeworld. Colonel Rodriguez laughed, which made several aliens jump in their seats. Lady, if you think what we have now counts as war, you really don't understand humans at all. Explain, demanded the bone-armored creature. Dr. Foster pulled out her tablet and began displaying charts. Current human conflicts involve maybe a few thousand soldiers at most. Our major powers haven't fought each other directly in over 80 years. By our historical standards, this is the most peaceful time in human history. Peaceful? Vextar's voice cracked. You have enough nuclear weapons to destroy your planet several times over. And we haven't used them, Morrison pointed out. That's called deterrence. It keeps the peace. The crystal being from earlier spoke up. You keep peace through the threat of total destruction. This is not normal behavior. Normal for who? Jake Sullivan asked. You guys seem to think normal means giving up when things get tough. The chamber erupted again. Several aliens were making sounds that the translation devices couldn't handle, while others were frantically talking into communication devices. A new voice cut through the noise. It was strange and musical, like several people singing at once. I am the harmonic convergence of the Mediation Guild. Perhaps we should focus on peaceful solutions to the Krillian problem. General Paul Wright, who had been quiet until now, looked up from his tablet. I've been reading your battle reports. Peaceful solutions aren't going to work. All conflicts can be resolved through proper mediation, the harmonic convergence replied. Have you tried mediating with the Krillians? Wright asked. The musical voice became discordant. They do not respond to our communications. Because they're at war, Wright said simply. Real war. The kind where one side has to lose completely. Nothing has to lose completely, Zephyra protested. There is always room for compromise. Wright pulled up the Krillian battle reports on the main display. They've destroyed 17 worlds, killed billions of people. What exactly are you planning to compromise with them about? The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Commander Tony Mitchell, who had been analyzing the Krillian ship designs, looked up from his work. These aren't explorers or traders. Look at their ships. Every single design feature is focused on combat efficiency. They're a military species. All species have military aspects, the bone-armored alien said. No, Mitchell replied. You have police forces and maybe some defense fleets. These guys have a war machine. There's a difference. Captain Lisa Turner studied the alien faces around her. You've never dealt with a species that actually wants to conquer you, have you? The galaxy has been at peace for thousands of years, Vextar said proudly. Because everyone played by the same rules, Morrison realized. Everyone believed in negotiation and compromise. And now someone's playing by different rules, Rodriguez added. The harmonic convergence's song became more urgent. Surely the humans can help us find a peaceful solution. Your reputation for negotiation. Our reputation? For what? Harper asked, genuinely confused. Your diplomatic achievements, your peace treaties, your ability to resolve conflicts without excessive violence. The human delegation looked at each other in bewilderment. I think you've got us confused with someone else, Johnson said slowly. Human diplomacy usually works because both sides know what happens if it fails. What happens? Asked Zephyra. War, Wright said simply. Real war. The kind where cities burn and armies die and nobody gets to go home until one side surrenders completely. The chamber fell silent again. Dr. Foster tried to explain. Human peace negotiations work because everyone at the table knows the cost of failure. When diplomacy is backed by the threat of serious consequences, people tend to be more reasonable. You negotiate through intimidation, the crystal being observed. We negotiate through reality, Morrison corrected. Everyone knows what the alternatives are. A small alien that looked like a furry mouse spoke up for the first time. But surely you prefer peace to war. Of course we do, Harper said. War is expensive, destructive, and tragic. But sometimes it's necessary. When is war necessary? Vextar asked. When the other side won't accept any outcome except your complete destruction, Wright replied. Like now with the Krillians. The bone-armored alien stood up abruptly. I am Counselor Thrak of the Warrior Caste. I challenge the humans to prove their capabilities. The chamber went dead silent. Morrison looked at his team, then back at Thrak. What kind of proof do you want? Combat demonstration. Show us these terrible abilities you possess. Rodriguez grinned, which made several aliens lean away from him. You sure about that? Our warriors are trained and ready, Thrak declared. Okay, Morrison said calmly, but we're not fighting your people. Set up some targets or scenarios. We'll show you how humans solve military problems. Vextar's branches rustled nervously. Perhaps this is not wise. No, Thrak insisted. If we are to trust these predators with our survival, we must see them in action. The vote was close, but curiosity won over caution. The demonstration would take place on the testing moon of Xerion 7 in 2 days. As the session ended, Morrison heard. Zephyr whispered to another delegate, "What have we done?" He was beginning to wonder the same thing. The testing moon of Xerion 7 looked like a wasteland covered in strange metal structures. Ancient defense systems built by long-dead civilizations dotted the landscape like sleeping giants. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council had used this place to test new technologies and train their limited military forces. Commander Tony Mitchell stood on the observation platform, looking out at the challenge course below. Beside him, Major Helen Carter checked her equipment one final time. Sergeant Mike Davis was already moving into position, while technical specialist Nina Walsh finished setting up her portable computer system. Remember, Admiral Morrison said through their communication devices, they want to see what we can do. Don't hold back, but don't show off either. The alien observers filled a massive viewing structure that floated high above the testing ground. Chairman Vextar's voice crackled through the speakers. Humans of Earth, the first challenge is the ancient grid. These defensive systems have protected this facility for over 10,000 years. Many species have tried to bypass them. None have succeeded. Mitchell looked at the towering metal structures ahead of them. Energy fields flickered between massive towers, creating a maze of deadly barriers. According to the briefing, the grid could detect any approach and respond with weapons that had destroyed entire fleets. Fascinating. Dr. Foster's voice came through the communication system from the observation deck. According to my readings, those energy fields adapt to whatever tries to pass through them. How long do we have? Carter asked. Take as much time as you need, Vextar replied. The record for the longest attempt is 3 days. The human team looked at each other and grinned. Walsh, how long do you need to map their system? Mitchell asked. The technical specialist was already connecting cables to her equipment. Give me 20 minutes to understand their network architecture. While Walsh worked, Davis scouted the perimeter of the grid. Carter studied the energy patterns through her binoculars. Mitchell coordinated their observations and began forming a plan. In the observation deck, Counselor Thrak watched the humans, with growing confusion. They are not attacking the defenses. What are they doing? They appear to be studying, Zephyra observed. Her tentacles writhed with nervousness. All species study the grid before attempting to pass through. The crystal, being noted, usually for days or weeks. How long have they been studying it? Asked another alien. 18 minutes. On the ground, Walsh looked up from her equipment. Got it. These systems are impressive, but they're designed to respond to individual threats. They've never faced coordinated simultaneous attacks from multiple vectors. Meaning? Davis asked. Meaning they're about to learn something new. Mitchell replied. The human team spread out around the grid. Carter moved to the eastern approach. Davis took the western side, and Walsh positioned herself at what appeared to be the central control node. Mitchell climbed to a high point that gave him a view of the entire system. Everyone ready? Mitchell asked. Ready? Came 3 replies. Execute. What happened next shocked the alien observers into complete silence. Carter didn't try to sneak past the energy barriers. Instead, she fired a concentrated pulse at the eastern tower that forced the entire grid to redirect power to compensate. At the same moment, Davis hit the western defenses with a different type of attack that required a completely different response. While the ancient system tried to handle two simultaneous threats, Walsh walked calmly up to the central control node and plugged her equipment directly into it. "System override in progress," she announced. "These defenses are really well designed, but they're trying to do too many things at once now." The energy fields flickered and died. The massive towers powered down with groans that echoed across the moon's surface. Total time elapsed, 1 hour and 47 minutes. "Impossible," whispered Thrak. "The ancient grid has never been penetrated," Vextar said, his voice shaking. "The builders designed it to be unbreakable." "Nothing's unbreakable," Mitchell replied through the communications system. "You just have to understand how it works and then do something it wasn't designed to handle." The second challenge was a fortified position that had been built to train elite galactic warriors. The structure was a maze of defensive walls, automated weapons, and shield generators. The objective was simple: reach the center and plant a flag. The record time for this challenge was 6 hours, set by the finest warriors of the warrior caste. Colonel Sam Brooks led this phase of the demonstration. With him were Lieutenants Chris, Taylor, and Amanda Foster. They studied the fortress for exactly 15 minutes. "Classical defensive design," Brooks observed. "Overlapping fields of fire, multiple fallback positions, centralized command structure. How do we approach it?" Taylor asked. "We don't," Brooks replied. "Foster, can you identify their power systems?" Lieutenant Foster pointed to a heavily defended structure at the rear of the fortress. "Main power generator is there. Secondary backup systems are distributed through the complex." "Taylor, what's our heaviest portable weapon?" "Plasma charges. We brought 6 of them." Brooks smiled. "More than enough." Instead of fighting their way through the fortress room by room as every other species had done, the humans simply walked around to the back and destroyed the power generator. When the defensive systems went offline, they strolled through the now defenseless fortress and planted their flag in the center. Time elapsed, 38 minutes. The observation deck was completely silent. "They didn't fight the fortress," someone whispered. "They eliminated its ability to fight back," another voice replied. Is that allowed?" "There were no rules against it," Vextar said weakly. The final challenge was supposed to be the most difficult. A combat simulation against automated opponents that adapted to their attackers' tactics. The alien observers expected this to take hours, possibly days. The human team finished it in 22 minutes by doing something the simulation had never encountered before. They ignored the enemy forces entirely and destroyed the computer running the simulation. "Combat effectiveness is irrelevant if the enemy can't maintain command and control," Mitchell explained to the stunned aliens. As the demonstration ended, the human team gathered their equipment and prepared to return to the observation deck. They had accomplished in under 3 hours what the galaxy's finest warriors had never managed to do at all. Admiral Morrison watched the alien faces as his team returned. The fear he saw there was deeper than before. It wasn't fear of human weapons or human strength. It was fear of the way humans thought. "Counselor Thrak," Morrison said quietly. "You wanted to see what we could do. Now you know." Thrak's bone-like armor rattled as he spoke. "You don't fight like warriors, you fight like what? Like demons who think." The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened with security forces posted at every entrance. Half the species' representatives looked ready to flee at any moment, while the other half appeared resigned to whatever fate awaited them. The humans sat calmly in their designated seats, unaware that their demonstration had created the biggest crisis in galactic history. Chairman Vextar's branches trembled as he called for order. "We have seen what the humans are capable of. Now we must decide whether to accept their offer of assistance." "Offer?" Counselor Zephyra's tentacles writhed in agitation. They destroyed systems that had stood for 10,000 years like they were toys. Admiral Morrison stood up slowly. "With respect, Counselor, we solved the problems you presented to us. Isn't that what you wanted?" "We wanted to test your abilities," the bone-armored Thrak replied. "We did not expect you to make our greatest defenses look like children's games." Dr. Lisa Harper tried to calm the situation. "We understand your concerns, but Earth's offer stands." We're willing to provide limited military assistance under whatever oversight the Council deems appropriate. Limited assistance? The crystal being's light flickered rapidly. What you showed us today represents limited capabilities. Colonel, Rodriguez laughed, which made several aliens flinch. Are you kidding? We brought 4 people and some basic equipment. That's not even a scouting party by our standards. The chamber fell into the kind of silence that comes before explosions. How many soldiers does Earth actually have? Asked a small furry alien in a barely audible voice. Active military? About 50 million, Morrison replied casually. That's not counting reserves, militias, or civilians with military training. 50 million? Vexitar's voice cracked completely. That's actually pretty low for us historically. Rodriguez added helpfully. During our last major global conflict, we had over 100 million people under arms. The harmonic convergence's musical voice became a discordant wail. Your entire species is a military organization. No, Harper said firmly. We're farmers and teachers and scientists and artists. We just happen to be very good at fighting when we need to be. A new alarm began sounding throughout the station. Emergency broadcasts crackled through the communication systems in dozens of alien languages. The translation devices worked frantically to keep up. The Krillian Empire has broken through the outer defense line, announced an automated voice. Enemy forces are advancing toward the core worlds. Estimated time to first population center, 72 hours. The chamber erupted in panic. Alien representatives began shouting orders into communication devices, while others simply sat in stunned silence. Jake Sullivan pulled out his tablet and began studying the tactical reports that were flooding in. They're moving fast. 17. Fleets in a coordinated advance, very professional operation. Can our combined forces stop them? Vextar asked desperately. No, Sullivan replied without looking up. You've got maybe 3 days before they reach your major population centers. Your fleets are scattered and using defensive tactics that don't work against adaptive enemies. Captain Ryan Bell leaned forward in his chair. What exactly do you want us to do about it? Stop them, Zephyra pleaded. Surely humanity can find a way to negotiate with the Krillians. The human delegation exchanged glances. They attacked a human colony world 6 hours ago, Morrison said quietly. The chamber went dead silent. What? Vextar whispered. Colony ship New Boston. 300,000 civilians. The Krillians hit it on their way here. Morrison's voice was calm, but something in his eyes made the aliens lean back in their chairs. Survivors? Asked the harmonic convergence. None. Dr. Foster pulled up the transmission logs. The colonists sent a surrender signal. Standard galactic protocols. The Krillians ignored it and destroyed everything. This changes things, Harper said, her diplomatic tone becoming much colder. Earth is now officially at war with the Krillian Empire, but surely you'll coordinate with the Council, Vextar said hopefully. Work within our established military frameworks. General Paul Wright, who had been silent throughout the session, finally spoke. No. No? The Council's military frameworks don't work. We just proved that. Your defenses can't stop them, your tactics are useless against them, and your weapons are inadequate. Wright stood up and walked to the holographic display showing the Krillian advance. We'll handle this our way. What does that mean? Thrak demanded. It means Earth is going to war, Morrison replied. Real war. The kind where the enemy doesn't get to surrender after they've murdered civilians. Colonel Rodriguez was already sending messages through his communication device. I'm ordering the 3rd Fleet to intercept the Krillian advance. Full combat deployment. How many ships is that? Asked the crystal being. 200 vessels, fully armed and crewed by people who are very angry about New Boston. The aliens looked around at each other with growing horror. What about negotiation? Zephyra asked weakly. The Krillians chose war when they killed our people, Harper said coldly. Now they get to learn what human war looks like. Wright pointed to the display showing Krillian fleet movements. They're using standard conquest tactics, overwhelming force against scattered defenses. It's probably worked for them before. But it won't work against you, Vextar asked. No, Wright said simply. Because we're not going to defend, we're going to attack. The communication system crackled with a new voice. Admiral Morrison, this is Fleet Commander Janet Price. Third Fleet is moving to intercept. Estimated contact with enemy forces in 18 hours. Rules of engagement? Morrison asked. Total destruction. No survivors. No prisoners. They wanted a war with humanity. They're going to get one. The Galactic Council sat in stunned silence as they realized what they had done. In their desperation to save themselves from the Krillians, they had awakened something far more dangerous. What have we unleashed? Someone whispered. Morrison looked around the chamber at the terrified alien faces. You haven't unleashed anything. You've just learned what happens when someone makes the mistake of attacking humanity. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Vextar called out one last question. What if you can't stop them? Morrison paused at the chamber entrance. Then the galaxy learns why humans don't believe in losing wars. The doors closed behind the humans, leaving the Galactic Council to contemplate their decision. They had wanted Earth's help in their war against the Krillians. Instead, they had made it humanity's war. And as every human in the galaxy would soon learn, that was a very different thing entirely.